The 21st century opened with a single seismic event, and its tremors traced back to one man, Osama bin Muhammad bin Awad bin Laden. He was not born in a mountain cave or a desolate village, but into extraordinary privilege in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, around 1957. To understand the world's most wanted man, we must first confront the profound paradox of his origin. Bin Laden was one of over 50 children sired by his father, Mohammed bin Laden, a self-made construction magnate who immigrated from Yemen and forged one of the world's largest construction empires, the Saudi bin Laden Group. This enterprise was synonymous with the Saudi royal family, securing massive contracts to build the kingdom's infrastructure and even renovate holy sites like Mecca. Osama inherited a fortune worth tens of millions of dollars upon his father's death in a plane crash in 1967. He was raised in Jeddah, attending elite schools before studying civil engineering at King Abdul Aziz University. Yet, while his education was secular, his environment was steeped in growing religious fervor, and this university period was truly pivotal. Here, bin Laden absorbed the radical interpretations of Islamic scholars like Abdullah Azzam, who preached the necessity of jihad, holy war, to defend Muslim lands. His trajectory was irrevocably set by a global event that he viewed not as a political conflict, but as a spiritual clarion call: the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in December 1979. This wasn't just a distant conflict. Bin Laden, then barely in his 20s, saw the war as a sacred duty, believing the defense of Muslim land against the infidel Soviet Union was paramount. He leveraged his immense wealth, logistical expertise, and inherited construction machinery, bulldozers, trucks, and heavy equipment, to support the Afghan Mujahideen. He wasn't content to be merely a financier. He was often on the front lines, personally supervising engineering projects, digging trenches, and participating in combat, earning a reputation for both piety and visceral bravery. This image, the devout millionaire warrior battling a superpower, was the very foundation upon which his destructive radical charisma was built. As the Soviet Union, humiliated and exhausted, began its retreat, bin Laden realized he had forged something entirely new: an international army of Arab volunteers, seasoned in combat and bound by a shared ideological fervor. In 1988, he and his closest associates established al-Qaeda, Arabic for the base. Initially, it served as little more than a computer database listing these veterans and their resources. But bin Laden's vision was grander: to channel this veteran force into a perpetual global jihad, using the perceived victory over the Soviets as a blueprint for future conflict against any power he deemed an enemy of Islam. Bin Laden returned to Saudi Arabia in 1989 as a celebrated hero. But the hero quickly became a volatile nuisance. His radical ideology clashed violently with the monarchy's stability and its long-standing pragmatic relationship with the West. The final, irreconcilable break came with the 1990 Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. Fearing Saddam Hussein's military power, the Saudi government invited U.S. troops onto the Arabian Peninsula, a move bin Laden viewed as the ultimate, unforgivable desecration of the sacred Islamic lands. He publicly condemned the Saudi government's dependence on the West and angrily offered to use his network of Afghan veterans to defend the kingdom instead. The monarchy, viewing him as an unmanageable extremist whose presence posed a greater threat than Saddam, refused his offer. This refusal was the profound psychological and theological turning point that launched his global war. The near enemy, the corrupt, apostate Muslim regimes like Saudi Arabia, was now directly protected by the far enemy, the United States. Bin Laden was expelled from Saudi Arabia in 1991, stripped of his citizenship and cut off from his family's immense wealth. He relocated to Sudan, finding temporary refuge under Omar al-Bashir's Islamist regime. In Sudan, al-Qaeda matured from a database of fighters into a truly global organization with transnational ambitions. Bin Laden established ostensibly legitimate businesses, tanneries, farms, and a road construction company, primarily to launder money and fund the construction of terrorist training camps. It was from this secure base that al-Qaeda began to formulate a systematic agenda of violent struggle against American power worldwide. The decade of the 1990s was a slow-motion declaration of war. In 1993, a cell trained in bin Laden's camps executed the first major Middle Eastern terrorist attack on U.S. soil, the World Trade Center bombing in New York. Though the plan to topple both towers failed, it killed 6 people and served as a chilling precursor of what was to come. By 1996, international pressure mounted, forcing Sudan to expel bin Laden. He immediately moved back to Afghanistan, where he was granted sanctuary and patronage by the newly ascendant Taliban under the elusive Mullah Mohammed Omar. From this secure base, bin Laden issued his first significant fatwa, or religious decree, declaring holy war against the United States, accusing it of looting the natural resources of the Muslim world and occupying the Arabian Peninsula. The organization's threat escalated dramatically, with the 1998 U.S. embassy bombings in Nairobi, Kenya, and Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. This was al-Qaeda's first large-scale coordinated operation, killing 224 people in near-simultaneous blasts. The synchronized nature and devastating casualty count instantly transformed bin Laden from a financier into the world's most infamous and dangerous terrorist leader. The American government responded with cruise missile strikes on al-Qaeda targets in Afghanistan, but the retaliation failed to stop the inevitable. Al-Qaeda followed up in 2000 with the suicide bombing of the USS Cole in the port of Aden, Yemen, killing 17 American sailors. The cumulative shock of these attacks had now made bin Laden the primary target of international counterterrorism efforts. The FBI officially indicted him and, in 1999, placed him on its 10 most wanted fugitives list. The meticulous hunt was underway, but the world was still completely unprepared for the audacious and devastating scale of his final masterpiece of malice. The absolute crescendo of al-Qaeda's war came on September 11, 2001. 19 dedicated hijackers, trained in al-Qaeda camps and loyal to bin Laden's vision, crashed 4 commercial airliners into the World Trade Center in New York, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The coordinated terror attack killed nearly 3,000 people and instantaneously redefined the global security architecture. The question for the international community was no longer who he was, but where he was hiding. Bin Laden, who later publicly admitted his role, became the most wanted terrorist in world history, with a $25 million bounty placed on his head. The U.S. response was immediate and absolute. Within weeks, Operation Enduring Freedom began, targeting the Taliban regime for harboring al-Qaeda. Bin Laden famously escaped the initial military dragnet, slipping away during the fierce Battle of Tora Bora in December 2001, allegedly crossing the rugged, porous border into the mountainous tribal regions of Pakistan. This marked the beginning of a grueling, painstaking, decade-long manhunt. The U.S. and its intelligence agencies, primarily the CIA, dedicated immense human and technological resources to one singular, overriding mission: finding the ghost of al-Qaeda. The intelligence hunt was not a sudden breakthrough, but an excruciating, patient process centered on tracking bin Laden's most trusted human connection: his couriers. By 2007, intelligence analysts began to focus intently on one specific courier, known by his nom de guerre, Abu Ahmad al-Kuwaiti. For years, they tracked his infrequent communications, ultimately leading them to a massive walled compound in the semi-urban city of Abbottabad, Pakistan. The compound itself was a fortress of bizarre contradictions. It was located less than 2 miles from the prestigious Pakistan Military Academy, yet its security features were grossly excessive for the neighborhood. Towering 12 to 18-foot concrete walls, topped with barbed wire, double security gates, no apparent internet or telephone connections, and all trash meticulously burned rather than being put out for collection. By 2010, the CIA was convinced the high walls hid the world's most wanted man. The decision to strike was fraught with existential risk, particularly the potential for confrontation with a nuclear-armed Pakistan. President Barack Obama gathered his national security team, debating for weeks between 3 options: a high-altitude airstrike, high collateral damage, low certainty of identification, a joint raid with Pakistan, high risk of security compromise, or a highly risky unilateral helicopter raid by U.S. Special Operations Forces, high risk of disaster, but high certainty of identification. On April 29, 2011, President Obama issued the definitive order. The raid was on. The mission, codenamed Operation Neptune Spear, a symbolic nod to the trident of the Navy SEALs, was assigned to the Elite SEAL Team 6, DevGRU, on May 1, 2011, at 10:30 p.m. local time. 23 SEALs, an interpreter, and a combat dog lifted off from a U.S. base in Jalalabad, Afghanistan, aboard 2 specially modified stealth Black Hawk helicopters. The mission required them to penetrate deep into Pakistani airspace undetected and execute the plan flawlessly in minutes. The raid almost failed catastrophically at the very start. As one of the stealth Black Hawks attempted a controlled descent into the compound's courtyard, it suffered an aerodynamic failure. The pilot was forced to make a hard, uncontrolled landing that destroyed the aircraft against the perimeter wall. Miraculously, no one was seriously injured, and the SEALs immediately adapted. Blasting through the compound's thick walls, they quickly cleared the guest house, killing the courier Abu Ahmad al-Kuwaiti. They fought their way into the main building, advancing floor by floor, a stark contrast between their disciplined, technological assault and the isolated analog defenses of al-Qaeda. On the 3rd floor, they encountered the target. Osama bin Laden, surprised in his bedroom and unarmed, was killed by multiple shots fired by the SEALs. The entire intense, high-stakes operation took approximately 40 minutes. The SEAL team's immediate encoded transmission to headquarters was simple and historic. For God and country, Geronimo. Geronimo, Geronimo, EKIA. DNA confirmation swiftly followed. To prevent his grave from ever becoming a shrine or focal point for future extremists, Osama bin Laden's body was treated according to Islamic traditions and buried at sea from the deck of the USS Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea. The death of Osama bin Laden was hailed as a monumental victory in the war on terror, delivering justice for the thousands he murdered, and symbolically removing the figurehead whose ideology ignited a global conflict that continues to shape our world today. The story of Osama bin Laden, the privileged millionaire who became the architect of global chaos, is a powerful and somber reminder of how personal wealth, radical ideology, and geopolitical shifts can align to shatter world order. The decade-long hunt for the world's most wanted man stands as one of the most complex, high-stakes intelligence and military operations in modern history, one that forever altered the relationship between security and freedom. If you valued this deep dive into the historical forces that shaped the war on terror, a video based on verifiable, rigorous research, and you can see the references on screen now, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is vital, allowing us to continue uncovering and presenting these complex, compelling historical narratives. Join us next time as we explore the chilling political fallout of the 9/11 attacks in the Patriot Act, trading liberty for security. Thank you for watching.